Essential and performative masculinity. See what we got.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is how to be a man. It's a simple question, and one that 100 years ago would be ludicrous to ask, because back then, everyone just sort of knew what the answer
How's this sounding, by the way? Are you guys getting an echo or anything?
was. But here we are in modern times, characterized, among other things, by an identity crisis in men. How we got here is extremely complex, but here is where we are. Now, some forms of masculinity, such as machismo masculinity, are fairly complex. This is because they are performances of an unwritten etiquette with evolving rules and standards. However, this form of masculinity, as much as femininity, is essentially performative. Neither is a natural suite of behaviors, and each is an expression of a particular time and place. These forms of masculinity and femininity can be learned, and skillful execution of their respective suites of behaviors both express and confirm status in men and women. Many of the answers you'll hear on the internet to the question of how to be a man correspond with performative masculinity. They are things that you can do to signify your man status with props, costumes, and postures. These could be things like grow a beard, lift heavy stuff, start a business, go fishing, go hunting, learn to start a fire, learn to drive a manual transmission, learn to seduce women, learn to fight, learn to shoot a gun, learn to grill a ribeye steak, talk knowledgeably about sports, drink beer and appreciate whiskey, etc. Now, I don't have a problem with any of those things. A lot of them sound fun and could prove beneficial to the individual in question. However, I do think that all of those responses suffer from defining masculinity essentially as a suite of behaviors, as a performance. Now, I have a different take on this question. As you can see, I'm not a guy who's very performatively masculine. I work with words in a very feminized profession. I've never played football or scaled a fish or roped a calf. However, when it comes down to it, I'm extremely masculine. And this is because what it means to be a man is very simple and only marginally associated with what you do or what you look like. Are you ready? To be a man is very simple. You need only two things. You need a spine and you need some balls. That's it. If you have a spine and you have some balls, then you're a man. And just so we're clear, I'm not talking literally. All humans have a spine and all males have balls. What I'm talking about is a spine and a pair figuratively. It's simple, but not necessarily easy. Let's talk about each one individually, shall we? First, what does it mean to have a spine? A spine means that you are willing to stand up. Anatomically, you need a spine to stand erect. Figuratively, you need a spine to stand up for what you believe to be true, which is, in your heart of hearts, who you are. And this, of course, presupposes that you actually know what you believe to be true, and this ain't easy. Most of the things in your head were put there by other people.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I haven't seen this, but I had that exact thought. Most men today are NPCs. We live in a time of NPCs. Most people don't know who they are. Most people don't even have taken a second to step back from their life and assess and introspect who they are. You probably like football because your dad liked football and your friends played football, so you like it now. And you learned all the stats because that's what guys do and you wanted to fit in. Or you play video games because you were left home alone all day and your parents found an easy way to keep you busy so they didn't have to watch you. And now you're addicted to video games, and video games have now become part of your identity. And you seek other males who've also made video games their identity, and blah, 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 blah. Most people don't have original thoughts in their head. And we live in a world that's like so connected. That phone that you hold in your hand basically controls your mind without you even knowing it. You think you're watching content that you are interested in. You have no idea you're being fiddled. It's that simple. They're pulling the strings. You're just a puppet. You're watching what they want you to watch. The algorithms are so much smarter than you. They know down to the microsecond what your eyeballs were peeled on that last short, that last video, and feeds you more and more and more. Tunnel visions you into that sort of life. And then you notice this in people where, how do I say this? A certain ideology has exploded in the past 15, 20 years, especially in the last 5 to 10, where a large segment of the younger population has adopted a certain idea and principle, and they identify with it strongly now. And the prior generations didn't have this problem. And they're very dysfunctional in society and struggle and very soft. And you have to watch your words around them. You know what I mean? It's very easy to see how little people actually think. The schools have now adopted this policy as well, where a kid goes to, say, higher education, and it's not higher education, it's higher indoctrination. It's a specialized playground for adult children where they will be taught what to think, not how to think critically. That's the world we live in today. Most men are bombarded with this kind of shit, and you see it in mainstream culture. For example, in America, the number one that you see is the bumbling, doting, moronic husband that's actually completely useless and has a strong, independent wife that has to tell him what to do and boss him around. And she just is so sick of dealing with him, has barely any attraction, but just loves him for his innocent stupidity. Can you imagine that message in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 20s or 30s? Can you imagine men being portrayed as bumbling fools, needing a woman to mommy them on the basics of being a man? Taking the initiative. That's what's happened in culture today in the West. Men have been destroyed down to their identity. You're seeing it. Dude, some of the most ultra red pill communities were like rap, gangster rap. I mean, it was brutally misogynistic. Now they're rapping about simping. Spend a bag on a chick, take her out shopping. Simping behavior. It's not simping because I'm rich. It ain't simping if you got it. Yeah, you're a trick. You are tricking. You're a simp. The ones that came before you would never even break a dollar. They would say you break a hoe before you break a dollar. It was crazy, man. You should listen to old school rap. That'll red pill you right away. And now they're wearing, makeup and nail polish. I just seen it's trending right now. Drake had pink nail polish on with a pink watch studded in like pink diamonds. He has nail polish on to match his watch. He was already very sus in everybody's eyes, but now just it confirms it. And then just rappers in general today. But if that part of society that grew up in like a gritty environment has now succumbed to this sort of mentality, we're done for, dude. It's a wrap. And if you speak up against it, you get shut off. Like you're monitored. This channel's monitored. Everybody who speaks about traditional masculinity is considered toxic. You know the story, man.
And a lot of that stuff is total garbage. For most people, it takes years and years of patient self-study to learn what they believe to be true. So young guys get a pass here, though it's important to acknowledge that we tend to make their jobs harder by filling them up with so much distracting nonsense to begin with. However, there are many older guys, men who I speak with on a regular basis, who don't know what their values are, don't know what they believe to be true, and consequently don't know who the fuck they are. And how are you going to stand up for something if you don't know what that something is?
And another major problem with having a spine and balls. Main issue I see with guys is they never had a father present. Now, I have had one, very traditional. He always worked. Mother stayed home. I lived in a traditional household. For the guys that grew up with a feminized mother, feminazi, in a toxic household with no man present or multiple men present coming and going, abandonment issues, I could only imagine the damage and the difficulty that you must face, because you either go in two directions. You either lose absolutely control over your emotions and become aggressive and, think about drugs, gangs, shootings, violence, etc. So you try to prove your worth as a man by focusing your energy in essentially challenging everybody in your path, right? Women mistake this bad boy thing as being a man, but really it's just a crying little boy for attention on the inside, on a deep level. They're broken. Men don't act that way. Real men. Then you have the other side of it, that when the mother molds this guy, this son, into absolutely the softest man alive, that essentially doesn't start anything, failure to launch from the home, has no ambition, has 10,000 girls that are friends, not a single one of them look at him as a sexual object. He totally respects all women, but secretly inside is probably harboring some insanely dark thoughts. This is the kind of guy that explodes on society. And that's the brutal truth. This is what single households produce on average. Yeah. We don't love them hoes. Now it's, I'll pay for your bag. I'll put a Rolex on your wrist, take you out shopping. Simping. Dude, I can't listen to this new age rap. It's trash. It's like it got taken over from the powers that be because they saw the influence it had in the 90s, 80s and 90s. And it was like a perfect way to capitalize on brainwashing people to be absolute simp NPCs. Worship material possessions, worship the dollar, worship corporations, buy name brands, be a bot, don't think about shit, done. Now, bozos literally base their self-esteem and their self-respect and sense of self-worth on material possessions, bro. Imagine thinking your identity is tied to a fucking name brand from some soulless corporation that's never heard of you. It's affecting women the most. Look at how addicted they are to shopping, retail therapy, their handbags. Guys collect sneakers, bro. Women are collecting handbags, and that's a literal part of their identity.
Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, then please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. And if you're liking what you're hearing, you can hit the super thanks button. It's those 3 little dots in the lower right-hand corner, and tip me in proportion to the value you believe you've received from this episode. I really appreciate your support. Now, having a spine also lets you know where you stand in relation to the universe. This is because as soon as you stand up, you cast a shadow, which situates you in a specific place between the heavens, literally the sun, and the earth, your immediate surroundings. Unless you are completely in line with the light, there is no way to avoid casting a shadow on this plane. Among other things, this means that as soon as you stand up, that is, as soon as you make it known who you are and what you believe in, you will attract an antithetical element in opposition to that, the shadow. People will disagree with you. People will disapprove of you. Some people will despise you. And the taller you stand, the more some people will threaten, attack, and seek to destroy you. This is part of the risk of standing up and having a spine. And this, of course, is why we rightly respect people who stand up for what is right, despite the personal risk of doing so. What's strange is that the alternative to doing this, that is remaining spineless, isn't all that great either. You go through life never really knowing who you are and what you believe in. Now, it often happens that some people do know who they are and do know what they believe in. However, they're never able to find their place in the world because they weren't willing to stand up from their hiding places and say, "This is me." This is because doing so requires the second ingredient, a pair of balls. Having a pair means that you're willing to suffer the risk associated with being somebody, a specific individual with values and beliefs. It means putting your money where your mouth is. It means not giving a shit whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Not giving a shit whether you approve or disapprove of me. Not giving a shit if you love or hate me.
Unfortunately, this is something you only realize as you get older, later in life, that nobody has time to even give a shit about you and nobody will even approve of you. You know, like the insecurity of the fat guy going to the gym. It's an irrelevant insecurity. It's one you've fabricated in your own mind. Maybe someone glances at you and are disgusted. So what, bro? Then they look in the mirror and are disgusted with themselves for their own stupid insecurities. Nobody cares. You will be an afterthought seconds later when the notification rings on their phone. They already forgot about you. Don't be afraid to chase your dreams and go after your goals in life, or risk being shunned or, offending someone's sensibilities. Who gives a shit? You literally cannot do anything in this world that pleases everybody. You can't. Even if you were a saint. Even if you just went around and donated money and the clothes off your back and fed homeless people and children in war-torn places and risked your life to do this, somebody somewhere is still going to go. For example, you make this in a video, is still going to go and say, you did this for clout. Oh, but why are you only helping people in this area? Or you racist? Or yeah, bro, you're just doing this for whatever tax reason so you can write shit off. Somebody somewhere is living in such a shit situation of mediocrity and fear that they'll always be negative towards anybody doing anything whatsoever. Get it through your mind. No one will ever have 100% approval rating, not even fucking Santa Claus. And he brings free gifts every year to kids. And they still shit on him because it wasn't the right PlayStation. They didn't want that bike. They wanted the other one. This is human nature, man. So when he's saying have a pair of balls, it's literally not giving a single fuck about what anybody thinks in your life. Just you. And this comes down to your family too. You can't move through the world based on anybody's opinions. Your family are just people too. They're also attached to their experiences in life. My own family was scared of me starting a business. They told me it'd be difficult. What if I lost all my money? Who gives a fuck? I didn't listen. I did it anyway and it changed my life. Your own family will tell you things. They want their own 2 cents put in there. People think they know stuff. They don't know shit, man. That's the world. They're all regurgitating what they've heard, what they believe, what they've seen through their own minuscule life, like tunnel vision of experiences. Don't be afraid to go out in the world and do shit. Things that deeply affect you in your soul. Your heart is drawn to certain things in life. A lot of you hold back because of these exact issues. What if? What if I fail? What if they don't like? What will they think of me? Who gives a fuck, dude? Just go. I had a guy literally email me, message me about how he's afraid to go overseas because it'd be such a different change in his life and he's afraid to fail and he's built a little cushion where he lives, but he's currently unhappy. What should he do? And I told him the same shit. Why are you fucking nervous? You're unhappy already. Do you want to spend the rest of your life this way? What if you fail? Then you start again. Who gives a shit? Dude, the ticket we have, we're lucky to even be here in this moment watching all this. This is insane. Do you know the 1 in a million whatever chance it takes to get to this exact point? You're telling me you're afraid to fail, something that will set you back, what, some days? And you can get it all back again. It's nothing. But losing the opportunity and the experience is everything. Can't read that name, bro, but I'll put it up on the screen. So shout outs to you. Decided to take my life in my hands, started saving money and hitting the gym 5 times a week. Got 3 passports, started learning a new language, and I'm leaving my country in 97 days. Don't stay where people treat you like shit. Yeah. Shout outs to you, brother. Good job.
It means, if necessary, putting your money, your relationships, your career, your status, your reputation, and even your life on the line in the service of what you believe to be true. If you have a spine with no balls, you spend your life hiding from your friends, hiding from your women, and ultimately hiding from yourself. Well, you technically can't do anything to earn respect in the sense that you cannot make someone respect you, especially if, for whatever reason, they have a mind not to. You can significantly increase the probability that you will garner respect from other men and from women in general by having a spine and growing a pair.
By the way, having a spine and growing a pair with women applies to, you guys need to read that book, Mode 1 by Alan Roger Curry, I believe the name was. It's probably the only dating-esque book you really need to read. The rest is just fluff, I'm telling you. In my experience before I even read that book, and once you read it, it's so eye-opening. It sounds absolutely wild. But having a spine and a pair of balls, which means being extremely, brutally honest and upfront with your needs as a man, comes off, especially if you're pre-selected, as extremely attractive to women. Almost every man is operating on like a restricted speech and thought pattern when it comes to women, whether enforced by society or good manners or whatever bullshit is out there. Most guys filter themselves, afraid to say what they really want because they might talk themselves out of puss. They might talk themselves out of a date. They might come off XYZ. I'm telling you, dude, if you put in work, become the pre-select man, make some money, take care of yourself physically, mentally. And once you go on this date with whatever woman that's already showing interest because she said yes, and you've already built yourself up into a pre-select man, you can be as upfront as you want. I'm not even kidding, man. You can bag a woman in like fuck the first night, leaving the leaving the restaurant within 5 minutes in the parking lot. I've had it happen. This is what they would call outcome independence or abundance mentality. It's like those two rolled into one. But what it is essentially is the refreshing part comes because you take your mask off and you become more trustworthy to the woman. It's so weird, dude, but it makes perfect sense. Every woman knows you want to sleep with her. Every woman knows you're courting her with food and a date and conversation. You're playing the role of that bird showing its feathers doing a dance to get laid. If you skip the stupid courting process, and I don't mean skip it entirely, like take her out to dinner and do all the normal things, but you make your intentions clear, you tell her dirty stuff crossing your mind, and with conviction, you will be shocked at how responsive women are to that. She's already into you if she's going on a date with you. Besides the guys getting suckered in foodie calls because either she was out of your league or that woman's broken and is just using men and you happen to take the bait, of course. But for genuine dates where she's interested, dude, I have no other way of explaining to you like the wild ass stories where I've had like in college a roster of women and I would go on a date with one that I never met before, and just because I had backups ready would say the most outlandish raw truth I could think of. Whatever was crossing that mind in the moment, I would interrupt and be like, you know what's actually on my mind right now, and say exactly what you're thinking as a man. And the response is mind-blowing. Guys usually filter themselves when they have no options. Women can sense that thirst. You're being overly nice, overly filtered, and you're not really pushing for it like you should because you're afraid if you push too far, if you're too honest, you don't get any at all. And that's when you get taken advantage of, like the nice guy. Mode 1, Alan Roger Curry. Recommend everyone read that book.
We respect those who are willing to hold the line and stand up for what they believe in, regardless of the consequences. Paradoxically, we like those who don't seem to care whether we like them or not. On the other hand, we typically have neither respect nor appreciation for those who do things so that we might like them. Let's recap. If you know who you are, what you believe to be true, and if you're willing to stand up and risk it all in the service of those beliefs, in the service of your mission, then congratulations, my friend, you are a man. You do not need to grow a beard. You do not need to hunt or care about football or drink everyone under the table or plow through.
By the way, and when you do get super honest with the woman, because somebody in the chat said, watch for emotional manipulation, say yes and she acts offended. Once you're brutally honest with a woman like this, her first reaction is going to be like, oh my God, did you really just say that to me? Do you think I'm that kind of woman? Blah, blah, blah. It's just a test. Trust me, it's just a test. She has to feel out if it's coming from like an authentic place or not. If you back down and go, oh man, I'm so sorry. Didn't know what I was thinking. It was just joking. Don't ever do that. If you're going to make these comments on a date, she's already feeling you. You've gotten all the cues and you're being straightforward. Double down. Look her straight in the eyes. Don't break eye contact. Tell her that's exactly what's on my mind right now. I've already undressed you hours before when I saw you in that red dress, etc. And just stare. Just look her dead in the eyes with a little smirk. I'm telling you, dude, it really is that simple. It just seems foreign because you've never tried it and it's like some shit out of the movies. But most people can't even hold eye contact today. We're that far from what we used to be. We've fallen that far. Most people are afraid to lock eyes. You think if you pull this move off, it fails? Dude. Oh, man.
Half the women in town. You need a spine and some balls.
Going on, Alex.
If you have all the other things, but you don't have a spine and some balls, then you're not a man, in my opinion. And if you have none of those other things, but you do have a spine and some balls, then you're a full-fledged man. Hopefully, that clears some things up. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience?
Yeah, man, be brutally honest. It pays dividends, honestly. And it filters people that are genuinely interested in you or not. And this goes not just for women, but men too. The more pure and honest you are with yourself and everybody around the world that you meet, all the experiences you have, the better your social circle gets, your friend groups, relationships, all of that.